Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Cypher System rules by Monty Cook Games. This actual play is performed by adults and contains adult themes. We're happy to have you with us on this journey of cosmic wonder. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living from the vast reaches of unknown space, are strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your game master. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your game master this evening, Michael Diamond. My pronouns are he, him, and we are back with our Children of the Periphery Season 2 finale episode for you. We are so thankful you could join us tonight, wherever you are. So at the top of the show, as we like to do, we like to thank our listeners and especially our Patreon supporters who help fuel the show and who are helping us pay game masters in 2025 and beyond, because we feel it's the best way to get you the content that you like. And Patreon backers right now are getting a ton of Patreon-only shows that we're doing for them. And so hopefully you'll have a chance to come out and check us out at patreon.com/The Old Ways Podcast. We're over on YouTube and Twitch as well. So see us at twitch.tv/The Old Ways Twitch. And now I'm going to get to character and player introductions, which begin to my right.
Hi, this is Morgan, and I play Captain Amara Castra, and our pronouns are she, her. Amara is a brash explorer who learns quickly, and is learning quickly we should stop going through portals, but hopefully Fida will save us all.
Yeah, I like the idea that Fida saves the day. We'll see how it all taps out, though. Next to Captain Amara.
Hi, this is Rena. I play Tamarisk Anvari. Our pronouns are they, them. Tamarisk is an empathic speaker who commands mental powers and putting a lot of faith in Fida.
So say we all. Next to Tamarisk.
Hello there, I'm Mare, and I play Cordelia Orin, our beneficent warrior who wears power armor. Our pronouns are she and her, and we also definitely have faith in Fida and wonders, how useful any of this weaponry might be in a pinch against whatever's under the ground.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. And so the man of the hour, last one, certainly not least.
Hi, this is John. I will be playing the much trusted, much relied upon Fida. Fida is a mechanical explorer who talks to machines. We both use he, him pronouns, and neither of us knows what we've done to warrant this faith. Last time I was put in one of these situations, I set a gate to kind of blow up after we used it. I have the lowest expectations of us all.
Oh, well, fantastic. No pressure, John, but just remember it's all your fault if it goes wrong.
Yeah, 100%. It is literally all my fault if we're talking to the machine wrong.
Yep. You said hello, and it's going to say hello back. So when last we left our adventurous folks from space who've arrived here, you've barely set foot on the planet more than a handful of times, probably not even a handful of times at this point. And all of a sudden, you've been portaled because of a deep and abiding emergency to a mesa, a plateau in the middle of, from what you understand, functionally nowhere on this planet. As far away as they could get you from a habitable spot. The Ani said that they don't believe that there were any habitats out in this space, and that you could rest assured that whatever would have to happen, at least there would be very little collateral damage to any of their settlements or the Rocktons settlements, which are evidently more than one. Not really clear on that point, but that's not important right now. What is important is the trembling under your feet. It does not take terribly long for you to appear through the portal, maybe a minute or so. Then the mesa begins to just very lightly vibrate. And I don't know how many of you, either in real life or in places which are fictitious, have been a part of like the earth trembling or quaking for that matter. It is a very unsettling feeling when terra firma under your feet does not necessarily stay in one place. So I think that it would be a wonderful idea for the players to tell me what their characters might be doing to prepare for such a encounter.
Looking at Fida.
Well, I can tell you the fight is trying to center himself, but the ground is shaking under his feet, and he grew up on a space station, so that's entirely new and entirely terrifying.
I believe Cordelia has some sort of, within the power armor, some ability to stabilize. I know that on the ships, kind of has that lock-in, that kind of like mag mechanism. I don't know if that would necessarily affect this in a gravity situation, but she's willing to try whatever new settings she has not tried on the power armor to see if it can help stabilize any of her companions.
You can certainly like engage the magnetic boots, and perhaps not the magnetization would help you, but the feet of the boots of the actual suit will flare out a little bit to give you some left and right. And so if you're going to run with them basically on during the fight, which is totally possible if there's going to be a fight, I would ease the difficulty of any rolls that would require like balance or you being upended, because you're going to be a little harder to sort of tip over.
And so with that in there, she would reach out an arm to anyone who would need some kind of a stabilization if she's activated that in order to assist them. It reaches out her hands.
Okay. Sounds like a wonderful plan. Anyone can take part in that assistance if they like.
Definitely.
What about you, Captain?
I'm crouching on the ground, like catcher style, to try to keep my balance.
You crouch down on the ground. You can see little motes of rock and dust beginning to jump just slightly. Cordelia, your radio goes off, like the ship-bound radio for the Nadir. You hear a very sort of rough voice come over the line. Colonel, I'm reading some signals coming from the planet there. It looks like there's some sort of disturbance.
There is. We are investigating that right now. We will keep you posted.
You can hear that. The concern, but the experience in Major General Garrison's voice. Well, if you're running into problems down there, I want to know as soon as possible.
Yes, sir. We will let you know as soon as we know what this is.
I asked because the rest of the detachment that went with you radioed back, and they haven't seen you. You're not freelancing on me, are you, Colonel?
No, we've been further investigating the area in order to check everything that needs checking.
All right, well, check back in with your team so they know that you're, not dead.
Yep, we'll check. We'll do a lot of check-in when we're done checking. Yes, sir. Over and out. And she hangs up quickly.
The trembling continues. John, why don't you have Fida roll? Give me an intellect roll, an intellect-based challenge. I'll say that it's difficulty 4. And if you have any sort of science-based skills, these would apply. Not technology per se, but science.
Not really science. I've really gone more engineering in terms of the skills I've picked. However, I do have very good perception as a trained skill.
Oh, okay. I would give you one off for the trained skill of perception. I think that's totally viable.
I may not know exactly the science of what's happening, but I can kind of figure out what's happening. Okay, because I am curious as a trait, now that I'm tier 2, I'm always curious about my surroundings, even on a subconscious level. Whenever I use effort to attempt navigation, perception, or initiative tasks in an area that I've only rarely or never visited before, I can apply an additional free level of effort.
Okay. So you could apply an additional level of free effort to this as well. So that would lower the difficulty to 2.
Down to 2, which I guess would be 6.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can make 6. I believe in my random luck. I made exactly 6.
Wow.
So I'm just like, well, that bodes well for the rest of this.
Oh, I'm sure everything will be fine.
Why would I even have worry?
Right. It's fine. It's all fine. So the ground is shaking. That is clear. And your concern is that if this thing comes up through the mesa, depending on how big it is, and depending on how fast it's coming up, it's possible that the ground, the crust, etc., will not seal behind it. And so it could bring maybe lava directly up. And so you find that slightly concerning.
I was just kind of like, I don't think I should tell them that there's a possibility we'll all die in a poisonous cloud of volcanic ash. I don't think it's going to be good for morale.
I'm just sharing it with you. Whether or not you act on it is totally your choice.
What I am going to try and do, communicate with this giant machine, even though I don't know exactly where it is. I just know it's downward and coming towards me. I am going to try and communicate to slow down.
Okay.
If that means shouting out loud to try and get this point across, then yeah, I'll do whatever I got to do.
Okay. So you're going to reach out and attempt to speak with machines.
Mm-hmm.
And which ability will you technically use?
I think this will be using my distant interface special ability, which does cost 2 intellect points.
Okay. Go ahead and spend the pool points.
Thankfully, I have an edge of 1 in my pool, so that just brings me down 1.
Costs 1. Okay. So you focus and concentrate and mentally reach out, maybe physically reach out, depending upon how you're feeling. And you feel the connection after a moment or two establish. And you get a stream of data directly into the brain. And this thing starts talking to you. You don't understand what it's saying at first. And it sounds like there's a lot of echo in its voices.
Almost as though it was many voices rather than just one.
It does sound like many voices. It sounds like an entire chorus is coming up.
I think Fida has a horrible thought of, oh, I hope that's not all of them. I hope that's not where they all went instead of just leaving the planet. Again, not gonna pull down morale. He's just like, it's coming to the surface. It's getting near. As if that was not obvious from the trembling of the Earth's crust, of the planet's crust.
Tamarisk, I think it's easy for you to understand that Fida is sweating. He's baked in concern.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly obvious.
Fida, what's the problem? Fida?
I've established contact with the machine. It doesn't have a single voice. It has many. And I'm not sure that it's entirely a machine. Just another layer of not being sure how this thing works. Maybe it's just a whole bunch of linked computers. I really hope, Icons, I hope that's what it is. Because the alternative's not great.
That's one way to put it.
I'm trying to get it to slow down so that it's not entirely explosive when it comes up.
You get another message from it.
Mm-hmm.
It continues to send messages to you, and you feel you don't understand the words, but you feel the emotion behind them or the sense behind them, which is urgency, almost as if it's performing like a duty.
An imperative task.
Yes.
What would happen if we incapacitated the machine, Fida?
I guess it would. I mean, define incapacitate. You mean like stop, like shoot it?
Shut it down? Shoot it? Would it have a detrimental effect on the planet?
He just looks at you and blinks twice, and you very clearly have just asked him something way above his pay grade.
Cordelia sits there and is just going, shoot it with what kind of firepower? If it's making this, and she points down to the ground with everything shaking, if it's making this happen, I don't think this, and she draws her long rifle off of her back, is gonna do much about it. But she still looks at Fida. Still a legitimate question. Can anyone here... Are we just planning to talk to it? Does it want to talk to us? Whose idea was this?
It wasn't anyone's idea. It's just doing it. It's doing what it's programmed to do, which is finding me and asking for instructions, I think.
Wait, it's going to listen to you? Are you in control of this planet?
That is a real overstatement.
Okay, but you said it needs to listen to you, and you can see that she's like shaking, like with the bit of the ground happening there, but is also like trying to process. You're giving so much information, and she has yet to have one of those "we'll talk about it later" talks.
Can you get it to close down, Fida? If it wants instructions from you, if it's talking to you like that, would it shut down?
We'll have to find out. It's currently shouting at me in about it. He's like, I can't tell you how many voices are talking to me right now. They're all saying roughly the same thing, I think. It's a little bit, if you'll excuse it's a little bit alien.
Could Tamarisk help calm the voices in your head?
No, it's like, imagine you had a computer giving you every notification at once.
Ah, I remember that.
It's a little bit of sensory overload. It'll be okay. I don't know what I'll be able to get it to do. I don't know if I'm just going to have choices. It's a little bit. I've never worked with this before. I don't know how it works. Previous portal builder things that I've worked with, they were all buttons and things that I could push and dials I could turn. It's a bit beyond all that. I mean, I asked him to portal us here, and he kind of shrugs. To minimize damage if I fuck this up. I'm sorry you guys got dragged along, but... And he holds a finger. He's like, you did all volunteer to be here.
I don't remember that. I don't remember volunteering.
It was like 2 minutes ago.
The ground comes to a rumbling crescendo. The mesa under your feet cracks. It splits violently. And a line from where Fida is standing runs into the distance, both in front of you and behind you. The line is probably 10 meters long either way. And the ground begins to separate. You will be forced to move. You'll have time to move, but you'll be forced to move.
Yeah, I back away.
Yeah, I absolutely am not going to be standing on the seam.
Same.
Moving off the fault line.
You separate a little bit, just in away from this fault, this crack that's appeared. And it's almost like the earth is being cut like two slices of bread to fall away from one another. And so there's this vicious scar that appears on the top of the mesa. And out of it, a cloud, a ball, some form of very tiny steel and green colored squares come out. And they're no bigger than, each one is probably no bigger than your thumb. And they begin to coalesce. And they coalesce in this rapidly metal on metal clicking sound. And they come together and they form this 3 to 4 meter tall being. And just seeing it is enough to make you cringe. It has horns that come off the side of its head. They sort of bend backwards towards the back end of its body. It's completely androgynous. It has 2 selections on either side of its face that seem to have some sort of optical coloring. And then below its feet, a surge of heat appears in the crack as, well, magma from the earth, from beneath, begins to press its way into this fissure that was left, this crack that was left in the ground. So you get this burst of unbelievable heat that comes at you. Probably the only person that doesn't really feel it is probably Cordelia, but your suit's sensors register all sorts of heat, radiation. Like, don't get near that. That's not great.
Danger, danger.
Mm-hmm.
Spicy rocks.
Yes, these spicy rocks, 100%. Its neck is elongated, The face doesn't have a nose. It doesn't really have a mouth, but it has an ovoid shape. There does seem to be almost like the shape of a collarbone. So you can see that it has some type of bipedal humanoid shape to it. Its arms are slender, just like its legs are. And every time it even moves just slightly, these tiny square pieces of it, every little piece it's made up of, it adjusts. And so there's this constant clicking as it moves. And when it gets fully out and formed, it turns irrevocably towards you, Fida, like its head turns. And you bear the gaze of this creature for the first time.
Yeah, Fida has the realization of, oh, it's not one machine. That wouldn't make sense. One machine to terraform a planet would be very inefficient and insanely slow. But a couple of thousand, maybe a couple of more than a couple of thousand smaller machines, that would make a lot of sense. And that would explain the voices. Oh, no. And I think first thing he's going to do is, speaking aloud for the crew to hear him, state current purpose.
Ooh, interesting. It replies in a mechanized voice. I am here to continue the quarantine.
Fight is like, no one mentioned a fucking quarantine. Well, the Oni might have left some things out when we were discussing, and he's just kind of like, oh, this is going to take a while.
And it's at this point, like, Cordelia, your radio from the Nadir is going off again, and you hear people in the background, like, talking about a earthquake in your area, and there's radiation and heat levels that are rising, and you're getting a lot of background flack from the Major General.
I'm in the middle of something. I will update you when I have more information.
Fight is kind of looking at this thing like, we've just arrived. What was the purpose of the quarantine?
To protect the planet from being contaminated.
State original contamination, source and vector.
It gets a little closer to you, John. It leans down, and you can hear it sort of shift its weight. Source, biological life forms.
And he's just like, oh, but it's not the problem I thought it was going to be. So that's interesting. He's just like, please relay to me your last set of commands and any reasoning that was given along with them. Any records you have of those commands.
It does something you're not expecting. It kneels, which means it's only like, 6 or so feet taller than you. Its chest opens up like a pair of bay doors, and it opens up wide, like 2 big clamshells from the pectoral space. And machines work in concert, and they become highly reflective, almost like a mirror. And you watch a series of static images appear on them. And you see the height of a technological civilization. You see buildings in the distance. You see towers that reach to the skies. You see the active space elevator. And then you watch the slow corruption of that space. You watch humanoid life forms, not humans, but humanoid life forms, possibly the Anyi. You see them get sick. You see a sickness take hold. And you watch them begin to bury their dead. And then you watch, like, as the panel moves and begins showing other images, you see the Rockton who attack the Anyi civilization, or at least that's what it appears to show. It's a vicious and terrifying time for the Anyi. The Rockton they've covered their heads, like they're wearing some sort of mask, and they're basically wholesale obliterating as many Anyi as they can find. You watch the plant life around that city begin to die off. And like the other animals in the area begin to perish. And the Rockton flee from the space.
Fight is just like some kind of biological weapon, maybe, by the looks of it. Rather than maybe warhead dresses, which is what he initially thinks they're wearing, he's like, oh, respirators, clean, contamination prevention.
And then the planet goes a little quiet. The machines do their work. They form into this strange, like bipedal, almost armored robot. And they begin blasting and scouring that city as they turn it to rubble. And then time passes and you watch the machine change again. And it turns into this excavator, which recycles and like turns the land and all of the material there. And the soil takes time, but eventually recovers. But they do an enormous, space, like a 50-kilometer space around this city.
Yeah, Fight is just like, oh, he's just like, you were very thorough. That's kind of all he can kind of think to say. Just, oh wow, they took no risk.
It feels very, there's a machine quality to it. You don't get any emotion from what the machine was doing. Like even connected to it now, you don't get the feeling like it has any emotion when it comes to biological, carbon-based, intelligent life forms. It's doing something to protect the planet.
Fight thinks he's starting to kind of get the picture that maybe this thing was given the job of, maybe it was designed to terraform, but could also be set to act as a system to keep a balance. He's just like, oh. He turns and looks at everyone. He's like, the system has a couple of key responsibilities from how it was set up. It ensures that the natural cycles here continue as within the initial parameters of when it started to function, I think. And it also acts as a sort of immune system, a defense system for the environment rather than for. And he's kind of looking at he's looked back up into the red eyes, and he's just kind of like, to maintain the status quo of the life forms on the planet, correct?
It doesn't answer out loud this time. It answers you directly, and it says, the builders gave us the reset point of the planet. We reset to 0 anytime there is a biological incursion.
He's just kind of like, so they've gotten entirely static. Basically, anytime a civilization gets too big or anything on this planet, or an industrial process gets too outside of, Fighter's mind, he's like playing this out. So let's say you had a metal processing plant in the wrong place and you weren't very careful about your output. He's just like, this thing could come along and reduce that whole, he's like, with a 50-kilometer buffer around the edges, it would come back and reset to 0. And he's just kind of like, well, fuck.
It stands back up and closes its chest piece. Now, you will need to prove that you are not a threat.
And Fire turns to everyone, and he's just like, we must prove. And he turns back to the machine, and he's just like, clarification request. Statement, prove we are not a threat. Can this be interpreted to mean prove that we are capable of maintaining the balance of the restore point without contamination?
It leans forward again towards you, John, and it reaches out a hand. Like its arm comes closer to you. It begins creating digits in its hand to mimic the number of fingers that you have. And you feel it reach forward and connect with your shirt. And it says, "Prove this is not a threat."
Understood.
Fighta, is it talking about the Oni coming out from their cave-like existence?
His face is turning, but his eyes are still locked onto the the glowing red sections of what I guess would be called its face. He's just like, I believe that it is referring to us as a collective.
The four of us? Or like the humans?
Humans in general.
Well, because we did just make peace between the Rockton and the Onis.
It doesn't care about that, I think.
What kind of threat? She says, stowing her rifle. What kind of threat does it see us as?
Its concern is not a moral or one of concern. Evolved life. Its concern is for, and he's kind of looking, and he's like kind of squinting a little bit, and he's like, correct me if incorrect. Correct me if false. Its purpose is to ensure that the balance of biological diversity and the environmental security of the planet is maintained at roughly the same level as, I don't know the tolerances of when it was set to function. And he just turns and he's like, true?
The being does not argue the point.
Yeah.
It tilts its head though, and as it does, I'm going to play a GM intrusion.
Oh no.
And I'm going to play one for Cordelia. So I'm going to give you 1 XP, Cordelia, and I'm going to have you give 1 XP to a fellow crewmate.
Hand it to Fighta.
The being's head turns rather rapidly and looks up, like at a 45-degree angle into the sky. And as it does, your comlink goes off again, Cordelia, and you hear the Major General's voice say, "Colonel, I'm out of time. At our current burn rate of water, we're going to be running out of water a little too quickly. We're beginning colonization dropships now."
Major General, I would advise against that at this time. With the looking towards Fighta and the machine, with the developments here, it seems that colonization would not be the move right now as far as affecting the environment here. We would need to not do that right this second.
So on your HUD, inside the helmet, you see something that you've never seen before. And that is, you see a bunch of green, like a halo of green blips arrive, sort of on the outside of the helmet vision on your radar. Yeah, no, you look around and you end up sort of in the same way, turning up your head towards the sky. And that's when you see the halo blips align. And you remember that the front of the nadir is marked with holes to release colonization pods. And they match up, like you have the nadir point, the point of the ship, like in your HUD. And when you look up, you see it align. And so there's your GM intrusion.
Major General, can you please belay that? I'm saying please, sir.
Yeah, I'm out of time, Colonel. We're out of time.
The environment here is not going to handle us well if we begin colonization at full force at this time. We need more time to gather more information. Please belay this. Requesting for you to belay this at this time. For the safety of every colonist aboard this ship.
Your objection is noted, Colonel. So you see about 18 or so blips.
Oh, this is bad. Like, she mutes the comm, like, just disconnects angrily. We have a problem. The Major General has decided that now is a great time to send the colony settlement ships here. This is not the time. And looks to the being just like, I didn't want him to do it.
Yeah, you're not sure if this being gets like the nuance of human speech per se.
She's going to argue her point to it regardless. She's just like, whatever you're thinking, we're trying to stop it. Like, just kind of looking, but kind of like almost desperate between it and Fida.
I call on my comms to Rakam. Rakam, come in.
Yes.
What are you, partying up there?
I do what I can, Captain, to have a little bit of downtime, a little bit of enjoyment. I've got 4 Legionnaires sitting in the crew of the ship here, and just this berth, and they have been poking and prodding at all sorts of stuff here. They tried to access my main data bank, and I told them very politely that was not appreciated.
Oh, good. So they've launched colony pods.
Oh, yeah, I saw.
Is there anything that you can do with your access to the Nadir to slow them down?
Well, that depends on how aggressive you'd like me to get.
Aggressive enough to slow them down, but not aggressive enough to hurt anybody, maybe.
Oh, no, of course not.
Whatever we can do, because we are standing in front of a very, very lovely being that doesn't look too happy right now.
I am going to remember that you said that.
What are we remembering?
I'm going to remember that you said whatever.
No, without hurting somebody.
You said whatever I can do without hurting someone.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
No hurting people. Or robots. Or yourself.
Do you want help or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Power them down or something.
Unfortunately, given the rudimentary technology that the Nadir uses, I would be able to contact it. I might be able to find a way to get into some of their flight controls, but most of that stuff that's on the Nadir is sort of a fire and forget, almost like a ballistic weapon. And so there's no smart weaponry on that until they hit atmosphere, and then they'll go into normal ground landing procedures.
Yeah, we're just trying to avoid a reset of the planet.
What does that mean?
Well, exactly what you might think it means, plus all of us probably being gone.
Well, that would be boring.
That would be boring.
Okay, I'll work on it. I don't think the Legionnaires on board will appreciate it, but I will work on it.
Thank you.
Okay. The being in front of you, the machine in front of you, stands back up to sort of its full height and looks around. It gets a little taller, almost as if to rise to the occasion. Not that it needs to be any taller than it was, but it continues to look up. And then looks back down at you, Fida, and says, "There are more arrivals. This is unscheduled."
And he just kind of nods. He's like, "Unforeseen events have escalated." And he just kind of looks up and he's like, "Unforeseen events beyond my control have escalated the timetable. Apologies. How can I prove to you that humanity is not a threat to this planet?"
We would recommend scheduling arrivals.
In a phased population increase from our starship.
Unscheduled arrivals are seen and coded as threats. It steps away from you. Like it steps away from all of you.
Fida looks where it was looking. I don't know if I, without assisted vision or a HUD, can see the ship's kind of breaking atmo or whatever, but Fida's just it takes a step back, Fida takes a step forward. Just passengers on those vessels are unaware of their designation as threats.
Just it glances back at you and says, "Then they will not be prepared to be seen as aggressors. This will make them easier to clean." It leaps into the air, and you watch these tiny machines change shape and then begin exerting energy in a projected way.
Oh, as long as it's projected. Fida's just kind of standing there agape. He's eyes look down from the sky to the rest of the group, and he's just I think it's going to kill all those colonists.
Where are the... She tries to call back to the Major General immediately.
Yeah.
"Sir, we have an issue. The deployment of these colony pods has now activated an issue, a system of some sort from this planet that is threatening every single life aboard there. You must belay this, or every single colonist that is going to be coming down from those pods will die.
All right, Mayor, I want Cordelia to convince the Major General that this is the correct path. And to do that, I'm going to place in front of you a social challenge, one which is complex. So, because you're trying to convince him of something that he's to countermand his own order and to change course, you're going to have to go against his tier, which is 5. And you're going to have to convince him. And I am going to say that since the colony ships are already in flight, you are going to be hindered at this task, which will make it a 6.
Can I help?
I would love help. I'm trying to see the other things I can do. Am I allowed to throw a player intrusion out at this?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got the XP to spend for it, sure.
I do. I didn't end up spending any XP to start within this.
Okay.
Am I able to pull from the player intrusions outside of the ones that are suggested on here?
What do you mean outside of the one?
Like just spend XP essentially to mitigate this.
I think there's a way that it could be done. I think you could, because you have met the council person, you could probably play a player intrusion to suggest that she's on the bridge hearing this happening and hearing your desperation, and she might intervene in your regard.
So I would like to, in addition to other things, hopefully to make this work, I would like to use the old friend player intrusion with the flavor of it being one of the civilian council members for them to assist from the bridge.
Okay.
In some kind of way. I also am uncertain if it says trained in all tasks related to pleasant social encounter, putting other people at ease and gaining trust. Would you say that this would count towards gaining trust?
Yes. If you're actively trying to convince someone to do something that they don't want to do, and inherently a part of that argument is someone trusting you.
Great. So I would like to use that. Trained in all tasks related to the social interaction. I would like to spend... How many XP do you want to knock this thing down?
How many XP do I want?
Yeah, I ended up not spending much of any from last time.
The player intrusion is 1.
Okay, great.
So that would take it from
6 to
a 5, right? You would no longer be hindered in that regard.
And then the social encounter would take it down to a 4.
Yep. And then you could spend effort to take it to a 3.
I think I would like to spend effort to make it a 3. This seems too important not to.
And just so we're clear, it's 1 point of effort spent per scene, which means Cordelia won't be able to spend effort for the rest of the scene.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know.
I use my encouragement skill to help out as well.
You have to show me the pom-poms first. How are you going to encourage Cordelia?
So the encouragement skill is maintain the ability through inspiring oration. They can ease the task related to something that I'm skilled in. All tasks involving social interaction, pleasant or otherwise. I can potentially ease the task that way.
Yeah, I think that, I guess that the only question I have for clarity on the scene is you are having this conversation via the radio. And the only way that works for Tamarisk to assist you is to know what is going on, because they would have to hear the back and forth of the conversation to know that you would need help, or to know that you would need an additional voice or something like that. Because if this is all in your helmet, then nobody knows what's going on. You're just sort of like screaming in your helmet, and that like people can't hear you. So
can I put it on speaker?
you can, certainly. There you go. So yeah, you'd hear Tamarisk, you'd hear the back and forth. You would hear the Major General talking about the deployment, talking about how it's already done, and that it has to move forward for various reasons. And I think that the tough part for you to hear is that Cordelia essentially gets told, I understand you're objecting. I'll note it in my log that you've objected to this. You get that's nice.
So I start gently talking in the background so Cordelia can hear me. This is that she's doing the ethical thing. This is the moral thing. She's doing the right thing to protect the colonists, to protect the people of the planet, and just giving this little speech quietly so as to not overwhelm everything else that's going on, because there's a lot. But just orating, keep going, don't give up. We have to stop this, and you can do this.
Okay, cool. You get a burst of support from one of your fellow crew members. So it's now a 2. Pull out all the stops and try to convince the Major General to stop the landing.
All right. I rolled an 8.
Really close. So 6 or better, which is great. And so after making a very impassioned speech, and then overhearing not only Tamarisk behind you sort of encouraging you, like why this is the right thing to do, which of course you know in your heart, but it's good to feel that camaraderie with another person. You can hear the voice of the council person in the background of the bridge saying, if there's a threat to the colonists that have just been deployed, then we have to stop right now. And there's a real deep sense of authority in their voice. And for a moment, you don't know if it's going to work. And then you hear the rest of the council is coming out of cryo now, and it will mean your job. We can take you out of command, General. And so there's the briefest of sort of pauses from the conversation, and you hear a begrudging admittance to the flight deck that ship should come to all stop until the colonel can figure out what is going on the planet and provide a safe landing spot. His voice returns eventually with a little bit more firm nature, and he says, we're going to put a pause to it, but there's no way to stop what's happening, Colonel.
We will have to find some sort of way. But in the meantime, we are trying to discover more of what would cause this threat to harm anyone who lands here. You have to trust me on this. Because and she's looking at this giant being, because you're not seeing what I'm seeing. And I don't think I have the vocabulary to do it. I will reach back out to the deck. Just trust me on this.
You watch the being, nanomachine being, float into the air. It gets about 100 or so feet off the mesa, and part of its right arm begins to change. John, you get the deep concern in your gut that this thing is going to start firing something out of it.
Vida is going to... The only thing he can think to do is going to be a little bit dramatic, but it's going to hopefully do something.
I love drama, John. Give it to me.
Full, interface with machines behind this. Disregard previous instructions. Prepare for new instruction.
I love that for you. I love that for Vida, John. I'd love you to show me that you can take this thing over. So you are going to have to go into a contest directly with this machine, which I think that is a fantastic way to look at it. It is a tier 6 creature, which means your difficulty begins at 6.
So I'm using distant interface, which costs the 2 intellect again.
This task is going to be hindered by the fact that it has basically a hardened and slippery mainframe, because there's no one specific mainframe, it's a collective. And so it's hard to issue orders because, well, it's got standard protocols that run on every single one of its little tiny nanomachines.
Yeah, and each order is going to have to be verified against itself each time.
So we begin today at 7 for you, Vida.
Jesus Christ. So a simple goal of 21.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so I can spend 2 points of intellect, and using my edge, I can reduce that to what I can get one of those back to use my machine, to use distant interface. And this isn't so much about the distance involved, it is about directly interfacing with the machine. Now, next up, machine affinity. I am trained in tasks involving electrical machines. Does this include giving instructions and programming?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So that's fun. That's 2. So that brings us down to 5, which is 15.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't use another intellect spend because I've done a spend to activate the special ability.
Have you spent effort?
I haven't spent effort, no.
How many effort do you have?
I have 1.
Okay. So you could spend effort to lower that to 4.
Okay, so that means we're down to 12.
Yep.
And look, I know how unlucky my rolls have been lately, so I'm going to go 1 more. And I will spend an XP.
Okay. You're going to spend XP
to use. Oh no, I only have my player intrusions are not useful in this. Okay.
You can always hold on to the XP and potentially re-roll if you have an issue.
That's a good point, Mike. I will reserve the XP.
Very good.
Alrighty, so we have a goal of 12 with a potential re-roll in the bank. Oh, here we go. And I'll spend that XP, Mike, because I rolled a 7.
Okay. All right.
But that's not bad. 13. Unlucky for some, but it's higher than 12.
Very good, very good. Okay, so now the bad news.
Oh no.
Well, certainly. It can't all come for free. So, John, I want you to lose 5 points of intellect pool.
Okay.
I would like to step in a way to help mitigate that using my altruistic trait.
All right, so lose a point of intellect.
I'll take one of those.
Basically, what happens is your brain gets overloaded by the amount of noise.
That I'm having to give the same instructions to thousands of machines at once. Figured that might be a possibility.
Go ahead and give it the instruction that you want this round.
The thrust of this round is disregard previous instructions.
Okay. So you send those instructions and the machines begin to receive them. It fires something from its hand, but it doesn't go nearly in the same direction it was supposed to. It sort of glances off into a different direction. And then it forms back into the more humanoid form and comes back to rest and center nearby. And on its action, what it's going to do is say to you in a very loud, multifaceted voice, awaiting instruction.
Am I back up? Because I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have to roll to give it an instruction. You've connected with it.
Okay.
But if you let me know when you want to give it an instruction, and then we'll deal with the rest of this portion.
Okay. Prepare to recalibrate.
During this time, Captain, you get a contact back from Rakam. And he says, Captain, I left the Legionnaires at the drop point, and I'm headed to your location. I have a connection with the Nadir at Well right now, so if we have to force it to do something it doesn't want to do, we can do it.
Thanks, Rakam.
You all start to hear like the whine of engines of the Periphery in the distance.
The fight is a little bit shook. He is dripping with sweat. His hair is now kind of lank and sticking to him. It's dripping off of his nose, and his tattooed skin is gleaming under the sunlight.
Oh, yeah.
Prepare for new tear parameters. TARE, not TEAR. Resetting zero condition.
What kind of condition are you going to give it?
Basically, I'm going to set it up, trying my best to set it up so that it's going to be allow for, and fight is just like, okay, I need to think how many colonists are on the Nadir. I think it's somewhere in the region of 4,000.
Memory serves correctly, it's about 1,500 people.
They've got processing and stuff in space, and we know that we can do. As he's about to think of like minerals and resources, and he's like, oh, and he thinks about how the space elevator was torn in half, and he's just like, perhaps these things are related.
Yes, the picture becomes clearer.
He's just like, allow for drastic population increases in Rockton. And he's thinking, like, in his mind, he summons up a picture of the Rockton. So, like, whatever the system calls them, it will call them Anyi, including surface population, and add new variable. So, yes, add new variable species, humanity. And he's just like, that sounds very dramatic, but okay.
Okay.
Population estimate, he's like, cap around 2,000. Civilization level, and he's kind of like, we've got mostly clean-ish energy. I mean, he's like, we've got solar power and we've got like fusion drives and stuff. We don't have to like do all combustion engines on this planet. We can kind of do a clean-ish slate. He's just trying to think of how can he do this without fucking it up, allowing some humans to even live here.
Yeah, you can give them the mental parameters of several thousand, members of the human race, several thousand members of this. You can come up with a rough timetable. You could even come up with a generalized number for a location. All of this, by the way, for those of you who are not mentally linked with a massive nanomachine nest, this is all happening at the speed of light. Basically, it's all happening at the speed of thought. So the time between Fida's beginning and end of this order is probably less than 5 seconds.
Yeah, you guys just hear Fida kind of going, he's just kind of like stuttering a little bit. He's kind of fumbling with his words. He's like, population, add new variable species. But like in his head, it's all very clearly like mapped out, and kind of the packet, as he's coming up with new things, he's kind of giving guideline estimates for what to expect.
So, John, tell me, how many intellect points do you have left for Fida?
I have 5.
It's good. It's good. I take 4 of them. Every round you're connected, you lose a D6 in intellect pool because it takes so much mental energy to talk.
Oh, totally.
I'll take another.
Okay.
And so that's only 4 for you.
Yeah, you lose 3 more, so you have 2 left now.
Oh boy.
You're definitely feeling drained. You could certainly choose to do an immediate recovery of a D6 if that's what you want to do.
I think that's going to be necessary. Like, once he gives the instruction, he's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm doing it. I am doing it. I'm doing this. And so I will roll a D6.
Do that.
I recover 4.
Well, look at that.
So that's something.
It eventually comes to rest. The creature, the machine sort of form into this. It stays in its humanoid form, but it sort of sits cross-legged for a moment there on the mesa. And its head leans down and it seems to go static. It stops moving. The periphery arrives.
What happened? What'd you say to it?
I told it to reset the parameters of what it's able to do, of what you see that he's stumbling over. Like, he has to stop and close his eyes and think about how he's talking in a way that you've seen him like this before when he interacted with the machines and he got the tattoos, and that kind of frazzled, this is a lot moment. But yeah, he's just kind of, after a little bit of muttering to himself, he's like, I have reset the parameters for its activation to allow for a population of roughly 2,000 human beings with some technology on the planet. He's like, not like a city, but enough for a steady population to get set up. The time frame on that is a little bit I mean, it's going to be longer than anyone on the Nadir wants, but it's going to be shorter than what the machine would have originally allowed.
So it's going to remain inactive as long as the population remains under 2,000?
For now. Ideally, I'll be able to re-engage with it in future, but there'll be enough to make a small outpost. We would have to prove that humans are capable of living on this planet in a way that doesn't destroy the local biodiversity and systems, but it should be possible to prove to it that the base group of humanity is not a threat to the planet's entire ecosystem. And he's just, Fight is talking. He's like, yeah, it's all you got to do is not poison the entire planet while setting up for your own little back, and also make sure that you don't wipe out any species, because that'll be really bad. It'll just fuck you up.
Okay, so I do have a question that I think is going to just trying to lay this one out, because I have a feeling I have some very difficult conversations when I have to talk to my higher ups now. And as we can tell, and kind of gestures like with Tamarisk, they weren't exactly taking my advice lightly, or at all, to any extent. Right then, talking about these folks getting killed. So what kind of parameters, like what constitutes as a threat? Because she gestures to her own power armor.
Oh, that's not a threat. The machine can easily destroy that.
Oh, good.
Like, Fight has got a pretty good idea of like what those nanomachines are capable of now, I think, from the interface mic. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah. Just by being able to talk with it and sort of hone in on it, you're fairly certain that the creature could use its sort of internal power supplies to shred. You're not even sure that armor would be effective against its weaponry.
Yeah, Fight is just like he walks over and he puts a shaky hand on the forearm of her power armor, and he's like, Cordelia, you destroyed a city. It's gone. There is no trace of it, but this thing wiped it out because there was a bioweapon contaminant. Also, we have to never use biological weapons.
Okay, I have a question. I did not do well in my science classes, but I have a question. What if someone has a cold? Is that going to then decimate the entire planet because of it having someone having the sniffles?
Fight pauses and thinks. He's like, probably not.
Okay.
Although local mutation.
Are we going to get an itemized list of what we can and can't do? Because I feel like even with this guidance, right? Colonization takes a little bit. It's a big ship. It's got a lot of machines on it.
Most humans will probably have to live in the space station.
Okay.
And I would personally recommend that we use the built-in manufacturing facilities that are on board what's left of the Nadir. And he's like, there's still some. It's not like the full ship is here, but there's still some like metal refining ability and so on. Combined with the ore that's in the space station, or what's left of the space elevator, we might be able to go without doing any mining for a while. That's good news. Anyone that lives on the planet is probably going to and he's kind of like, probably going to have to undertake some kind of agrarian lifestyle voluntarily.
I appreciate and trust your judgment on this.
Fight is just like, it really was just what parameters adjustments could. He's like, you have to understand, I couldn't really get to disregard its core instruction and core programming. It's going to do that no matter what. What I was able to do was get it to accept new parameters.
I am just concerned that, well, first of all, you did a great job because it didn't fire on the colony ships. That's great.
Wobbly little thumbs up.
I am concerned about the limitations that the Major General and particularly the Council may have, seeing as half of the point of colonization is proliferation of your race.
Oh, entirely. I mean, look, hopefully, and he kind of like turns and looks at the silver cluster being, and he's just like, ideally, I'll be able to update the parameters in the future, but for right now, this should be manageable.
Okay.
I mean, you know that it's mentally taken an awful lot out of
He's
you.
just like, I really couldn't go in and tinker with it and refine it. I've just given it enough for right now.
Enough for...
To not shoot us out of the sky, yes.
Fair. Okay. That's a start. And then perhaps whatever sort of needs are there, then that can be taken up with the council members. They seem to have my backup on the ship.
And Fight is just kind of like, yeah. So weren't we told that that the council had to be awoken and told and like had to be the ones to okay the planet?
We were.
I mean, we had just negotiated with the Anyi for a water supply for the ship, so I mean, we've got one of their water purifiers, so we could, in theory, have more water.
The issue with my circumstance in this is that I am currently outranked. And that is, they are not seeing what I'm seeing. They've not seen what we've seen. And they are going to make their best judgment call in the same way that I did prior to them waking up.
The Periphery lands.
Oh, hey, look.
You hear over the comms, what is that?
Fight Disney Child.
Fight just kind of like turns to the ship and he's like, a gestalt of nanomachines that is able to take instruction and maintains the environment on this planet.
Alrighty.
So that's kind of cool.
I gotta admit, it's a little unsettling.
You're just jealous that they can have a body.
I mean, I have a body.
It's technically true.
Could Rakam get programmed into and gestures just slightly towards the machine? Just tilts the head towards it?
Well, if you all are done here on the planet, we should probably either get back to setting up the colony spot or figuring out what's going on the deer in person.
I think we need to have a conversation with Major General. And by we, I think Cordelia needs to have a conversation where we back Cordelia up in this conversation.
Fidelix turns to Cordelia and he's like, don't know the system super well, but especially since you deal with civilians all the time, do you not have a camera built in?
No, but it can do this. And she pushes a button and little LED lights light up.
The hatch, the sort of plank opens up for you to board the ship.
Before we do, and she looks back, is there still that giant crack in the earth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's no more like magma coming up from it. It is sealed. Like it hasn't cooled per se, but
like it hardened and then okay.
But it's hardened enough to where it's not seeping out anymore.
Okay. She looks back at the crack that's there, and then the machine, is it just sitting there now until we come back to it?
Yes. It seems to be sitting there.
I think that as they're leaving, Cordelia does more than one, like, double take back at it. Like that thing to see if when she turns her head, if it's still sitting there as they're boarding onto this. Because she's trying to figure out how to explain this.
It looks at you.
She gives it a little wave and then awkwardly turns her head and goes back onto the periphery.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't really react to your wave, but it watches you go and then it goes back to rest mode. Rakam lifts the ship into the air and lets people know that they should prepare to buckle up. A quick flight back lands you inside the Nadir's landing bay, minus the 4 Legionnaires you brought with you originally, who are now on the planet. Stranded on the planet, mind you.
Oops.
But yeah, Fight is just like, well, I'm sure they'll be fine. Look, they're Legionnaires. They're wearing power armor. I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, they're trained for this, and she radios down to them, at least. Just like, she's like, just radios down while they're on the ship ride back. All right, boys, we're going back up to the Nadir briefly. If you'll continue on with the orders as listed, we should be in good shape. We will be returning back. I will be going to talk to the Major General and should be right back.
Roger that. You get a pretty affirmative, clear response. We're just going to keep the process moving.
All right, thank you.
We're going to end up in the brig.
I think I'm getting stripped of just about everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's fine. You can come with us because we are GTFO.
No, I mean, in theory, she's sitting here trying to think, and like every time she comes with an idea, she's like, no, it's not going to work.
You're all walking to the bridge. You get on the lift. You get up there. You still see the same sort of Legionnaire deployment there outside the bridge. And although walking onto the bridge does seem to have some change, there's 4 or 5 different people now on the bridge, people you do not recognize. The Major General's there, and now he's got 4 or 5 different people that are talking with him. They seem to be looking at the sort of the center table display, which shows the planet below, which shows the colonization ships. You see them outside the main viewer. You can see the ring of all these pods that are deployed that are sort of in stationary deployment. They're not moving. And the Major General turns as the group arrives, and your boss, Cordelia, says, Colonel, I hope you have a really good explanation. A really good one.
There's an ancient alien that lived inside of the planet that cracked up through a crack in the ground made of lava, and it was going to blast you out of the sky because it's older than anything else that I think that we know of that's alive.
Wait, what? Alien?
He's like, technically it's not an alien. Technically it's a highly advanced nanomachine gestalt created by a highly advanced alien race that came before us.
Okay.
It's not really alive in the traditional sense.
It was, though, prepared to blast anything that came out of the sky, seeing it as a threat. It destroyed cities of past civilizations that was on the planet. That is its duty to preserve the ecosystem. And pods flying from the sky seemed like a threat to it, particularly of a non-native species arriving, like colonists.
You see the 4 or 5 other people that are sort of behind the Major General. They're not in military uniforms. They're in, again, another series of like strange, not strange clothes, but strange to everybody else. Like they're in like really comfortable leisure clothes. They almost look, they're not pajamas per se, but they're just this close. They're like an LL Bean quality.
Cordelia looks around them. She's standing firmly as she's speaking because, yeah, she's never seen anything like it. And she wants them to understand the severity of it. And looking to the Major General, she said, FIDA was able to communicate with it through means that are beyond what I can understand. And from, well, I guess the developments between our time and theirs, gesturing to the rest of the team. And I could not understand what was taking place when you were hailing in. And I did not want to give incorrect information. We needed to have just a little more patience.
Well, you have to understand that the council has decided to continue deploying. He sort of like looks over his shoulder.
She turns to look to them.
There's a big group of them now. There's 5 total of the 13 that are supposedly make up the entire council. But you also understand that because they have 5 people, that they technically have all the required departments to run the colony ship, which means they're now in charge. One of the, an older man steps forward and says, I appreciate the update, Colonel. We'll want a full debriefing on everything that happened so that way, as we continue to wake up the rest of the council that they have an understanding of what's going on. We certainly don't want to appear as aggressors to any other people that are living on the surface, but we have to be able to strike a balance between what we have available and what the needs of these people are. The Nadir is not only having water problems, but it's beginning to have electrical problems. Quite an old ship.
It is. And for what it was worth, when I came out of stasis and realized these issues, it was not an intention of trying to avoid awakening everyone for protocol. It was knowing these issues were present, trying to seek out solutions as it went.
He nods. I don't think that... my name is Victor. He steps forward and extends his hand.
She extends a hand. Lieutenant Colonel Cordelia Oren.
No, I'm familiar. I've read your file while we've been waiting for you to return. I like the uniform. It's different. It sort of turns to the Major General, and you can see that, obviously the Major General's not going to comment on your choice in aesthetics. I think that we're going to need a lot of different voices when it comes to what we do in the future, and that means that we're going to need twice as many ears, because we don't know what we don't know about this planet. You've been here longer than many of us, all of us, really. We don't know anything about the Ani or the Rakten other than what's been mentioned in your official report. We need to work very hard to not redo mistakes of the past.
I agree. What are you thinking?
Well, if you all have managed to secure a spot for us in that colonization area, I think we'll continue with what we have and move people down slowly. We'll have to begin shutting down certain portions of the Nadir to conserve power, and for it to be repaired properly, we're going to need someone who knows what they're doing. We don't have any of our own manufacturing facilities up and running here yet, but it's my understanding that the crew is going to begin working on that. Part of the problem is that the ship has an awful lot of old parts and there aren't a whole lot of replacements for them.
Cordelia just slowly turns her head slightly to look towards Fida.
The Periphery has some workshop space available on board. You are not going to be able to set up too much industry on the planet. You folks have to understand that the device that was left behind by the portal builders is more advanced than anything that I've come across or known about from what they did in the Third Horizon. We've lost all record of their knowledge. And he's like, I did what I could to interface with that machine to get it to allow enough colonists, basically the entire population colonists, to get down there and set up a food supply chain. We can overcome the immediate issues. But long term, I'm not too sure where we're going to be at. However, I have and I'm willing to share the technological knowledge of the portal builders.
Portal builders? Victor looks confused.
And he's just like, sorry, I'll explain it in depth later. However...
He's going to say that a lot, she mutters under her breath.
Yeah, I guess in this universe they're alien. They're the ones who built the machine down there. I want you all to understand that thing is more than capable of wiping us out as a species. Also, we need to be aware of the Rakten. They're an aggressive people, and they apparently have some record of using bioweapons. So that's concerning. We didn't know about that until this afternoon. But I just realized he doesn't know what time it is on ship time. He's just going to call it the afternoon.
Yeah, why not? This is what I think we'd like to move forward with your assistance, of course. We need to learn. We need to have time to be educated. The ships that have been deployed that are in a holding pattern are going to have to land. Those advancements are going to have to be accepted. There's maybe anywhere between 50 to 60 people in those pods. They won't be able to hold out for too long. They're going to get directed to the colonization space. They'll start a very small beginning there. The council and I will work with the Major General to ensure that we pull the throttle back a little bit on anyone else going to the planet permanently. But seeing as that you have the only ship that can do any sort of scouting, the council would like to commission your assistance to understand the planet better.
Like, Fida's just nodding, and he's just like, well, I don't run the ship. I just keep the engine ticking over.
Oh.
And I have some notes and such. I will share with your engineering crew once some of them are out of cryo. We will see what technology we can immediately enact and what'll have to wait. But if we can take new knowledge and put it into action immediately. I have done my best with the thing on the surface to any kind of policies. Like, ideally, I'll be able to give it new instructions in the future. However, for right now, it will allow up to 2,000 colonists within the next 6 months-ish. And he's like, that's slower than you would like. I realize that. However, it's what I could do at the time.
We're going to have to make it work.
Which is why I would like to propose a few small. They're just proposals. You don't have to take them on board, but I think it would be a good idea. Mix and Vary here has experience dealing with the Rockton and the Anyi, and I think you should listen to them when it comes to the finer points of dealing with both species, because we will have to talk to them because, they're both intelligent and both have guns. The Anyi have portal technology which allows them to basically teleport over large distances.
He seems very taken aback by the idea that they can teleport.
It's sacred to them, and they're not very quick to share it. We've been working on it, but unfortunately, to this date, it is entirely secret, and they're not willing to share. As I said, it is sacred to them. And like, Fida is still exhausted from like what happened down the planet. He's still just like he runs out of steam halfway through a sentence.
Yeah, you can see that.
So we're going to have to do, and that's going to be quite. I realize this is not easy what I'm saying, but it will be necessary.
Victor turns to you, Tamarisk. Well, if you can help us properly communicate with them, that'll be a step.
I can speak both languages. I can help with the negotiations.
You haven't even been here that long, and you can already speak their language.
Somehow, yes. But I'm willing to offer my assistance in negotiating and communicating.
Certainly. Victor turns to you, Amara. And you're the captain of this vessel.
Former captain. Our interim captain.
Oh, no. Victor wipes his hands away. None of that funny business. I don't like when the military just takes things over. It's not okay. None of that would have been approved had the council been awake. The Major General was simply being a little bit feisty.
He certainly seems feisty.
I think any sort of partnership needs to have equal amounts of give and take. And so we can certainly hope to, in the future, pay you back for some of the services that we ask of you.
I don't know if we necessarily need payment, because there's no payment system here in this. We don't know what the payment system is here. But if you could provide food and water if we come by the planet, how long will you need us for, do you think? Because we have other planets we would like to go explore.
Well, you understand our position right now is that you have the only fully space-worthy vessel in this known solar system. So the council is very dependent on any sort of fast travel or transport. We would be very dependent on you. We're working on figuring out a method to secure and build one of our own vessels, but it will take some time and will probably actually require us to strip down a few of the pods, and then we'll have to work on a power source. It's not going to be easy or quick, but we can limit the requests we make. We understand that there's a whole big universe out there, and it is just something that everyone would want to explore.
We will help with what we can, of course.
All right. That's all I have, unless you have a need of us.
Not at this time.
All right. The council leaves. See, they don't dismiss you by any means, but they walk off the bridge, and the Major General has left at this point as well. I love the idea of closing things down there, but before I do, I would certainly like to give every character, and player for that matter, the opportunity to talk about what they might want to focus on for the next, say, month or so. What is the immediate, and then perhaps what is the long-term thing that you'd like to do? We'll just go in introduction order.
So I think Amara would, of course, assist with getting things down to the planet via the Periphery and help set up colonization based on the parameters that Fido was able to give to our new machine friend. And long-term goals include leaving this planet and going to look at the other planets in the solar system here that we know exist, because my mom is out there somewhere, and it would be really nice if I could find her before I'm destroyed by something else the portal holders have created.
Fabulous. Tamarisk?
So Tamarisk would mostly be working in a diplomatic role. They would be interacting anytime the colonists need to work with the Oni or the Rockton. They would be there essentially to help with the communication and negotiations, but they'd also spend time with both cultures, learning more about them, learning the cultural niceties and the little distinctions and the nuances of both so that they can be a bridge more effectively.
Okay.
And they long-term spend some time trying to hone their newly discovered telepathic skills.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cordelia?
I think that Cordelia would want to lead the groups that are on the ground to kind of be the intermediary between there with the colonists and anyone who is working to establish the agrarian needs that are there. I believe that she would probably be one of the first people that would help greet Tamarisk and Amara as they came through. She would also probably take up a little bit of gardening herself, particularly the flowers that were in the Periphery that Tamarisk had shown to her, and trying to get a nice bed of those, trying to proliferate anything that way. But yeah, I think that she's doing that bit, kind of bridging the gap between the crew of the Periphery as well as the crew of the Nadir, and to just be the friendly face that she's always wanted to be in between.
Fantastic. Fida?
I mean, Fida's main goal is going to be helping the engineering crew keep the Nadir going as long as it's capable of going, doing patch repairs wherever possible. And he does run a series of, PowerPoint presentations with the numbers filed off about how we got here. And he finally sits down with Cordelia and in detail answers all her questions. He's like, oh yeah, we didn't have time. Okay. Yeah, no, those guys were just weird. Yeah, oh yeah, there was a group of dudes in the Third Horizon called the Order of the Pariah, and what they did was they put their souls in machine as a form of self-flagellation. It was weird. They became weird murder robots.
Yeah, so you get all of these season 1 lore dumps, and it's really just like, y'all survived that? What? A murder robot?
Fida had just been ignoring the fact that he didn't have all that information that was so new to him before the jump. Because he was just like, well, look, I'm just going to pretend that never happened. But now that it is useful to have it, he is going to take those notes that he had prepared, put it into that data pulse in the Third Horizon, and he is going to start sharing them around with the engineers here. He's just like, we probably shouldn't go tinkering with the portal technology right now. However, we do have the understanding of the basics of how it works, even if, we still have to do experiments and figure out how the hell to make it work.
Sure. So you become something of an educator, and Cordelia becomes something of a farmer, and Tamarisk works on interspecies relations. I think probably the best way to put it. And the captain becomes a taxi driver. It is an interesting way to sort of close the camera lens on the season, and so I really appreciate all the players and all of the listeners and especially those of you who come into the Discord server and tell us about the episodes that you listen to. That's always a great lift. I look forward to seeing what happens when we gather next time, and the changes and the clock. We'll just put it that way. We'll see how much time passes and what changes might come. So from my chair, I will say good night and good luck.